Hi everyone, this is Emily, one of the co-founders of MedVenture app. We are having a really special live. We're going to talk about how to survive night shift, which is honestly one of the hardest things about healthcare is working the graveyard shift. That is really hard work. So we're really excited to bring on Lumify. Let me just get them on here. Thanks so much, guys. Let me just pin this. Hi guys.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you guys?
Good. Great to see you in the virtual world.
I know.
I know, we'll have to meet in person. I'm really jealous of Ryan.
I know.
It
You
was
gotta
so nice.
come to the Fresno.
Yeah, it was really nice to meet Ryan in person.
For sure. Well, for everyone who doesn't know you guys, why don't you guys just introduce yourselves?
For sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Anthony. I'm one of the co-founders of Lumify Care.
And I'm Jennifer, co-founder of Lumify Care.
We're both nurses, and that's kind of how Lumify Care came to be. We were basically just caring for patients and really frustrated that our patient care often conflicted with our patients' experience. And the one pain point that stood out to Jennifer and I the most to start was kind of related to the night shift, because it's a pain point that night shift nurses especially experience, which is the struggle of needing to go into your patient's room while they are sleeping, while they are resting,
And not wake them.
and not wake them. But of course, that's basically impossible. These, in our healthcare world, because we have to go in and turn on the overhead room lights that wakes up patients, and we knew there could be a better way, so we created the Unite light, which I'll grab if you want to explain it.
Yeah, sure. The Unite light, instead of using our pen lights and our phone lights, our flashlights, we created a wearable hands-free LED device designed for nurses by nurses, specifically for the clinical setting. So it allows frontline healthcare workers to be able to illuminate their workspace while decreasing patient sleep disturbances on an average of 70%.
Dang, and how did you guys come up with that idea? Did you experience it yourself and also talk to other nurses?
Yeah, so we actually talked with over 250 nurses in our pilot period, where we were basically just gathering feedback from nurses to try to understand, what the problem was. And I think the solution really just stemmed from nurses. It was really clear that they just needed a way to illuminate their workspace in a non-disruptive way.
And sleep is essential for healing on the patient side of things. Sleep is so essential for healing and recovery, and so interrupting the sleep cycle multiple times during the night, you can definitely see how that would have poor outcomes as far as a patient's experience and health.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, so much of healthcare nowadays is patient satisfaction, and definitely I feel like the most common thing patients complain about is being woken up that night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it actually literally is. Patients regularly report poor quality sleep as their number one complaint, and that's proven in patient satisfaction scores and whatnot. So yeah, it's definitely a big problem. And I think a lot of times patient experience stems very much from the front line, and frontline healthcare workers are often, undersupported. And that's why Lumify Care is here to help.
Yeah. So before Lumify was even out into the universe like it is now, what were nurses doing prior to that?
Oh, various DIY options. So lights. Some nurses had talked about needing both hands, but needing to see. So literally putting a pen light in their mouth and trying.
I've seen that.
Right? Girl, you've seen it too. I won't confess to doing it previously, but that's kind of some of the things that people do. Or we'll leave the door open to the room, but then that's noisy and extra traffic going through. So a bunch of those DIY solutions that just aren't best practice and don't really have the best outcome as far as illuminating a space quietly and keeping your patients asleep, which is why the Unite Light is so impressive.
Yeah. And you grabbed one, right? Can you show us
what
it
looks like? We're in our office. We were just throwing things around.
No worries.
There's one in the hallway.
Do you want to go grab it?
Yeah.
And I will say also, while we were exploring and doing research with nurses, there was some nurses actually wearing headlamps. They had fully brought runners, headlamp into the clinical setting, and obviously that was just way too bright. It was very uncomfortable and sweaty. So it just was super clear there needed to be a lightweight, liquid repellent way to kind of illuminate the workspace. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
like, yay! I
Yay.
love how
Okay.
we literally have these all over, and then the one time we need one, it's like,
I know.
but yeah, it's magnetic. You can attach it to your scrubs, and then there's 3 LED light color settings.
Right. So red is really great for preserving your night vision. So it helps you transition from dark to light to dark environments easy. And then white for that second level of assessment. So for color, fluid, different things like that. And then blue. Blue's been known to promote alertness and wakefulness, and really important for night shift healthcare workers who are in darkened environments for long periods of time.
Yeah, I love that. Oh gosh, so good. Okay, we already got 2 questions. So how did you guys find a company to create this, and how was the process? Oh, I love this.
Oh my gosh, it is
From a nursing entrepreneur.
Yes. Okay. Well, first off, we love nursing entrepreneurs. Let's just shout out some incredible nurse entrepreneurs: MedVenture, Kamana. The list goes on. I think first off, what's so special about nursing and our perspective is that we have like a very frontline perspective of like what's going wrong in healthcare in our clinical environment. So that frontline perspective, first and foremost, is like the perfect way to kind of start thinking about innovative ways to solve problems.
Right.
Right.
Once you kind of find that niche, find that problem, you know, for MedVenture was obviously travelers needed a community. They needed to find a way to connect with other people in an easy way. You know, once you kind of find that niche, you kind of then can start finding the solution, figuring out who your customer is, and start going down that whole pathway. It definitely isn't easy. It took us honestly about a year to get to the point where we're launching Nightlight. And that's because you have to, you know, kind of validate that this is something that people want. And you have to actually start figuring out how much you're going to charge for it, getting the website up, you know, incorporating your business, kind of all of the back end stuff that sometimes you want to think about.
Yeah, for sure. I think specifically for this, like if it helps to answer your question, we have a manufacturer that we work with in China that helps to kind of, I don't know, they've been so good to us because we've had 1,000 iterations just because of all the conversations that we've had with nurses. The initial users are when we piloted with the 250 different nurses who gave us a bunch of feedback, and then working with our manufacturer to kind of make changes to the device and kind of switch things up and change things around, and been able to kind of bring it to market that way. But we probably trialed before we settled on this. I don't know, how many lights did we?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Probably. Like
I
just trial and error, what works, what doesn't, what's comfortable to wear, what's not.
Totally. And how did you find your manufacturer?
Luckily, I'm a Johnson & Johnson Nurse Innovation Fellow, and so I had a connection to a manufacturer that was out in China, and then we just kind of developed that relationship. But we've been working with them now for a while.
Yeah, we developed a relationship.
Yeah, so it's been kind of a journey.
And I think that's like one of the most hard parts of starting something is starting, right? Like that's the hardest part. For us, like we just LinkedIn messaged as many people as we could find and really just leaned into forming relationships with people that had done it before. And I think that really helped us, you know, people without business backgrounds. We really kind of leaned on folks that had done it before. We reached out, we utilized our resources, and YouTube. Literally go on YouTube. There are so many resources. Y Combinator Startup School.
Watch the video.
Go on Google and just, you know, you'd be amazed what you can learn from the internet, or picking up a book and going on Amazon and reading, you know, the Lean Startup. A lot of books out there. So just utilize your resources.
Yeah, I do think as like an innovator and entrepreneur, like this is the best time to do it out of ever in humanity, because we have the access to internet and so much information that you don't have to necessarily go back to school for business or, you know, entrepreneurship. And yeah, there's people who have done what we're trying to do, even if it's not in the way that we've done it, but people have like paved the way for us in their own way.
It's really important to have a growth mindset. Anthony's always a big proponent of that, and being able, like you said, just to immerse yourself in like the culture of innovation and learn and grow in each one of those areas. And yeah, their success is around the corner.
Yep, I love that. Okay, so let's get back to more night shift things. What are some hacks or pro tips from you guys for surviving night shift or the graveyard?
Oh, goodness. Well, we have talked with many night shift nurses, which has been awesome because we have heard a lot of their pain points, heard a lot of kind of the ways that they excel. I don't know. I think the one really awesome part of night shift, and the one tip that I always love to kind of share with folks, is how I think the night shift is like a very unique community. And you
Mhm.
really get close with your night shift crew, kind of
Yep.
team, your colleagues that you work night
Yeah.
shift with. Just because I think, sometimes it's a bit more time to, talk with your team, to really lean on them. You don't have as many people around, and you don't have as much distractions. There's not as much family there.
Yep.
Um, there's not as much kind of management or administrator, so you really get to kind of bond with your night shift crew and kind of
Right.
get through that 4 a.m. delirium
Oh,
together.
it's the
It's
worst.
so real.
Yeah.
It is. You were laughing about absolutely nothing.
We
Like,
do that a lot, honestly, after
we do
working
that.
all day.
Yeah, we have long days, and at the end of the day, like, we know when we're done, when we just like, I don't know. We've picked up the phone and like we're like, let's call so and so, and we just like are
Yeah, we
deliriously
get
laughing.
delirious.
It reminds me a lot of night shift, like when you hit your wall. That is totally it. But
Totally.
one pro hack I will tell you for people who are like, maybe they don't do this already, or maybe if you're going to be a night shifter, it would make sense like to have a pair of sunglasses with you, because when you get out of work it's really bright, but if you can kind of trick your brain into thinking it's still kind of dark, and
Yeah.
then put on your sunglasses on the drive home, it's really helpful.
Interesting.
Yeah. I love that. And what I also leveraged a lot when I worked night shift was having blue light glasses, and I wear them on like the second half of my shift. So like my brain is like not taking in that blue light. Naturally there's so much like going on, but just trying to like limit the amount of like alertness to be like, okay, we're going to go to sleep in a couple hours. So prepare yourself.
Yeah. I mean, sleep is super important. Like, I think the schedule that you set for yourself, I feel like I've heard so many different sleep schedules. Like, some people will nap before, some people will try to stay up. Like, I guess you have to figure out what works best for you. And then also, like, when you're intaking caffeine, I saw someone put in the chat coffee.
Oh yeah.
Because, like, you really have to kind of time everything
Yep.
appropriately, like, with your sleep schedule. Make sure you have those blackout curtains, of course.
And that your family's on board. Like if you live with other people, it makes it like 20 times harder.
Yeah.
So everyone has to kind of appreciate your schedule as a night shift,
Yeah.
which is always sometimes difficult to do, but everyone tries to make it work the best they can.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also one thing, so I stopped drinking coffee at the tail end of like my nursing career in New York before I started travel nursing. And one thing I found that was really helpful was like sitting for me makes me super sleepy. And so walking around the unit and just like asking people if they need help, or I used to play like something called Flush Wars. So we would like spray each other with flushes. I don't recommend that, but it's super fun when you're trying to like stay awake, and there's not like people around. But yeah, I think like moving around for me and just like taking walks off the unit and stuff like that helped me stay awake during night shift.
Yeah, definitely. The moment you're sitting and like staring at the screen charting,
right.
Even during the day shift, you can start getting sleepy from that. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So when should night shift workers eat?
I think it's different for everyone though. Like I think it also depends on your sleep schedule. Like if you're a napper before you go to shift, or if you just like sleep right after you get home. But some people are snackers all the way through, I've seen.
That's me.
And then some people will like eat at the 10 o'clock mark, like after your like first initial assessments and everything are done. Then they'll eat and they'll be like good to go for the rest of their shift. Or some people will eat before they come and then they're fine. I don't know. I guess it just depends on like your metabolism and your sleep schedule, like what works best for you. But yeah. Or energy bars. Like some people do those.
That's what I was gonna say. Like I think for me, what I did, and I mean I still do, although I'm not working clinically and I'm working full-time on Lumify, even as we are working late nights, having like a peanut butter Cliff bar or energy bar, like that will go so far. And like the minute that I start kind of getting unfocused or drowsy or sleepy, I will have one of those to kind of spark some energy.
But sometimes it doesn't work and he still gets delirious.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I've seen like the opposite spectrum, or like both sides of the spectrum rather. People who are just like constantly eating the entire night shift, and then there's of course all those potlucks that you're like, oh god, we're eating all the bad things at night shift.
Yes.
The potlucks.
Yeah, gotta like set a lot of boundaries, because I know like in my first year of night shift, I did gain a couple pounds because working night shift just messes up with your body, and then you're just eating all these potlucks. I'm like, oh gosh.
Lord, girls, COVID. That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly. All that stress eating. Yeah, exactly.
No
With
more
COVID.
potlucks anymore. Well, maybe for some people. Some hospitals are still strict. Like you can't bring
Yeah.
food still.
I've seen in some hospitals, they're like, you can have potlucks if everything is wrapped like individually.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's a lot
So it's a lot of work. It's not great for the planet. Yeah.
Have you seen, like, in your traveling, like, have you had certain hospitals having, like, better potlucks than others?
Oh, yeah. Like what part of the country?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of biased towards New York just because that's probably one of the most like diverse places, and the potlucks were just incredible because we had so many people from different cultures bringing in food. And so yeah, I think New York for me is probably the best place that I've been.
Potlucks are dangerous.
We had a lot of Italian food in Philly, which was
Ooh.
like, that's like my favorite, so I would get super excited. Or we'd have like cake or something, so love that.
Yeah, we used to do ice cream cake.
Leftovers. That's not
Yeah, that is
exciting.
one thing I will say. I think one thing about night shift, yes, there's definitely, you know, some potlucks for sure. But I think what we also heard from our night shifters, as we were doing a lot of interviews for Lumify, is actually some night shifters being sad that, you know, they didn't always get like the gifts or like the things that day shift might get just from like people dropping things off or having, you know, more of those like giveaway things happen during the day.
Right.
So I will say, I think, you know, night shifters definitely deserve all the love when it comes to food and gifts and everything that they can have to kind of feel supported and loved.
So not all the day-old donut.
Yeah, exactly. Not the leftovers.
Not the
right?
leftovers.
Yeah.
The old-fashioned that nobody wanted. That's just in the box. Stale.
Yeah. The best family members or the management are like, they come at the beginning of the day and they like save one box for night shift, one box for day shift.
Yes.
MVPs.
MVP.
That's
Yeah.
You can stay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so on the other side of the spectrum, what is some advice for like working out for night shift?
We saw this question. I was laughing at this one. So I was like, oh gosh, I cannot work out after a shift or even before. When I see my fellow nurses working out before their shift or after, I truly have so much admiration for them because that is commitment. But
right.
what is
Well,
your
I think
tip?
it depends. It could be say like, oh, after a shift, like that's hard too. But I've seen people do that. Like after a shift, they want to go ahead and work out, take a shower, and go to bed. But I also think it has to do with like your day and like what kind of like shift you've had.
Did you have exercise just running around in your shift?
Right? Or like did you have a really hard emotional day? Like you know, did you have a really crappy day? Or you are working consecutive shifts and like the day before it was a really hard day and you know you have to go back to that same team, that same assignment, and then you might not want to. You know you're not going to have the energy to like go after work like you usually do or whatever the case may be. I think it's different for every person.
Yeah. I personally went before just because I feel like if you do want to work out, I just feel like doing it after. I don't know about y'all, but for me, I am like straight to the bed, straight to Netflix, run my bubble bath or run the shower, do like more like self-care stuff after a shift. But I don't know, I think starting maybe your day with like or I guess your night with a quick workout might be a great way to wake up and stay energized.
Yeah, for sure. I remember I was like experimenting in the beginning of night shift when I used to work, and I did the before, which was like, it sucks to wake up early, but I do think it's a lot easier to wake up a little bit earlier to get your workout in than like at the end of the day. Cause like same thing, you don't know like how much you've been running around or emotional. Like let's say you were like coding your patient, you lost your patient. Like the last thing you really want to do, although it's like a good healthy release of stress, you could just be completely you know, out of energy by the end of your 12, 13 hours. I do remember I was trying to like weightlift one time after, and I was doing a squat and I got lightheaded at the bottom of the squat, and I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing this anymore. I gotta go home. And after that, I was like, this is unsafe. I'm fall risk right now, and so I never worked out after shift after that.
Yeah, no, it's hard. I mean, working a shift is definitely hard. And I mean, you bring up a good point too. Like maybe if it's not a full exercise, like doing something that makes you kind of like release your stress and do some self-love, some self-affirmation, whatever that makes you feel, you know, supported after a shift or before. It's important to find your thing, you know, because it's hard to be a nurse, a night shift nurse, a healthcare worker. It's really hard and taxing. So important for us to keep each other accountable about, you know, prioritizing our mental health, and finding, you know, what works for us in terms of just releasing some stress.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I've just learned actually that the stress cycle is like, especially as nurses and people who work on the front lines and even like army workers and stuff, if you don't complete the stress cycle and it just keeps stacking on top, on top, on top, that's when it becomes trauma and can also lead to burnout. And so it's really important for each person to figure out a way to complete that cycle, whether that means like working out or talking on the phone or like finding support or just going on a walk or something like that, just to like complete that stress cycle, to be like, okay, I'm gonna just leave that now and not like hold it all in.
Right.
So,
yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. So important. I mean, important for nurse entrepreneurs too, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. So much. All right, so we talked a little bit about night shift culture in the beginning of this, but I just want to say, and like, let's talk about the culture. I'm a big fan of the culture, even though I don't work night shift anymore, but it's always been my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, like Anthony said, I think that you develop such a tight relationship with people. The night shift worker, like the night shift team is just like really bonded. I think part of the reason is also, and Anthony said, like a lot of like ancillary staff is gone, the visitors are gone, admin's gone, patients are asleep a lot of the time, or most time. Right?
Hopefully if you're using Unite Light.
Oh yeah, plug. But you're able to kind of have more time with your coworkers to like build those connections and have those conversations and really like develop good friendships. And so you end up with like these incredible bonds. And I think that is very unique to that culture and that group of people. So something really special about night shift.
Yeah, I agree. I do think the lack of resources when things hit the fan and you guys really have to rely on each other, that teamwork is like out of world compared to like day shift, because you have to really trust each other and be there for each other when there aren't as many hands or people to help you, especially when patients are crashing.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, I mean, because there is less people, you have a little bit more autonomy in a way, just because you're really, you know, there's, as you said, there could be limited resources. There might not be as many people around to just call up or, you know, come running to you. It's definitely more, I think, tight-knit teamwork. For sure.
You can't just call the doctor right away and have them be around the corner most times.
Right.
So.
Like the support and stuff. Yeah. It's so true. And you kind of form that special bond too, right? Because it's like, especially when you go through those moments of really working together.
Trauma bonds.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I know, like, that's such a like great like way to form camaraderie, but it's kind of sad too, right? Like, why do we all have to relate over trauma? But it does happen in our careers, so unfortunately.
Occupational.
And that's why everyone needs to get MedVenture, especially if you're a traveler, because it's such a great way to like form those actual, like same kind of parallel, like the team, tight-knit community, you know, vibe,
I know.
but even doing it in a more kind of fun and outside of work way.
Yes, I do think having support outside of work is so important. I remember like as a new grad, I really heavily relied on my nursing school friends because we were all going through the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like going into work nervous and feeling like we were going to kill our patients every single night. Like that is like such a real experience as a new grad. You're so anxious and just unsure of everything, and you're just questioning everything about yourself. And yeah, it was just a crazy time. So yeah, I definitely feel like community is so, so important, just as a healthcare worker, but especially during night shift.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Having that tight-knit community to like vent to, obviously HIPAA compliant, of course, you know, but
Yes.
to kind of lean on those other people that are going through it with you is so, so important. I mean, it's just like anything too, right? It's like, not to bring nursing entrepreneurship back into it, but you know, when you have your kind of nursing entrepreneurship community, you have your whatever it is you're kind of going through, I think it's important to have a community to support you and to lean on, and other folks that kind of understand what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. Now, is night shift for everybody? What do you guys think?
No, girl, absolutely not. Well, I think that some people are like not night owls, right? Like some people just aren't able to do it, or like they have childcare issues, or they have childcare during the day. It's just like, I think it's different from everyone. It's definitely not, it's not the shift for everyone, but for those who live it and love it, it's like, it's their home. So I definitely think that if you're on the fence, you should try it for sure. But but also know your own self. Like if you are a morning person and you get up at 5 a.m. ready to go, it's probably going to be, and you usually go to bed at like 9 o'clock at night, it's going to be really difficult for you to transition to schedule like that. But I know that's my take on it. Not for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think totally try it for sure. Like, especially if you're looking for something new, or maybe you're just starting at a new job. Sometimes they make you.
Yeah,
like, literally.
New grads have to work nights 11.
Yeah, where I was working, you have to start on night shift. So, you know, you might have to start there. It might be hard at first, but I feel like give it some time.
You get the pay differential while you're doing it.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, you just got to figure out, I think, what works best for you in terms of all the things you just talked about, right? Like your schedule, your tips and tricks for yourself, things like that, and getting into the flow that works for you.
Yeah, I definitely think that takes a lot of like self-reflection and awareness, because yes, there are people who like thrive for decades on night shift. I'm like, how? I'm impressed, but like how?
Yeah, I totally agree. We've done like 200 phone calls in the past like week and a half, which is probably why
oh my gosh,
we're a little tired.
I know. It's been long.
We've been doing
week and a half.
basically calling you know, healthcare workers who have used Unite who have been a part of kind of the Lumify community so far. And, you know, a lot of them are night shift healthcare workers. Yeah. And I mean, we've talked to some people who have been on the night shift for literally like 40 years. Like, it's amazing. Like, that is just like
dedication.
They got into the groove and it works for them.
Yeah, they found their spot. Good for them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we need people to work night shifts, so good on them.
We do.
Cool. Well, let's wrap up and let's just talk a little bit about the partnership that we have with you. So do you guys want to talk a little bit about that as far as like why we partnered up and things like that?
Yes, of course. Well, I mean, we love MedVenture for so many reasons. I think, you know, obviously we're being both nurse-led companies, and I think both having kind of aligned missions of wanting to support healthcare workers, you know, build community, build that resiliency. We were just super excited to partner with MedVenture and their awesome little resource guide that they're putting together. Really just wanting to give back to travelers, to give you guys a tool that can help you with your patient care, can help you, you know, hopefully have a brighter and easier shift and make your traveling a bit brighter, pun intended.
I was going to add that in. Perfect. But yeah, so we have partnered up with Lumify to offer you guys a 15% off discount for your Lumify Ulite. And so you can go under our website, medventurefortravelers.com, and then under Traveler Resources, you can go down to the end of the page and then you'll find that discount. So thank you so much, you guys, for jumping on here, sharing your tips and tricks for night shift. Really appreciate it.
Of course. And shout out to MedVenture and the community again. We are not travelers ourselves, but low-key want to start traveling after seeing the MedVenture app because it looks so fun. And honestly, I already talked to Ryan about this, but like, I'm just gonna get MedVenture to try to meet up with people in California. Even
Yes.
if I'm technically traveling right now, although
This
I'm
guy.
working on Limify. But it's such a cool way to connect with people, and we're so excited to get Unite Lights into your community. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Well, take care and stay cool because this heat wave is real. Like, how hot did it get in Fresno this weekend?
111 was at some point was our high. But I kept on telling Anthony, I was like, because he's from Philadelphia, right? I was like, it's a dry heat though.
Right. You don't have that like stickiness.
He wasn't convinced.
Yeah, no.
So. Awesome. Well, take care, guys, and thank you everyone for hopping on.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.